But, you know, the polar bear is the image of global warming. And they've been able, you know, people who don't study this or don't read too much about it, buy into it, and it's absurd. And of course, polar bears have existed for 100,000 years. And over that period, the temperatures, they manage, you know. And a lot of, you know, they can swim, you know. I mean, they think that the melting glaciers and all the extra water, they're going to drown. You know, I mean, it's sheer insanity. All right, let's go to the only, there is no physical evidence that is valid upon inspection for man's role in altering the climate. It's arrogance. It's arrogance to think that we're so powerful that we can alter the climate of the planet. I mean, we absolutely cannot, but it's also money. Our government gives $5 billion a year to academic research only if you're going to add data to show that man is responsible for the planet's temperature. Around the world, hundreds of billions of dollars have been spent related to global warming. It's an industry. It's a gigantic industry. I have been fired from jobs. I was the, interestingly, for a while, in addition to working for Hartland, I somehow got to be the spokesperson for the Fertilizer Institute. I was going around lecturing about how wonderful fertilizer is, and if you care to see any more of me, I made a 4-minute movie on YouTube called Lehr in San Francisco, where I walked around accosting people for 2 days, asking them what fertilizer was, to make the point that they didn't really know what fertilizer was for the agricultural industry. And it's really funny because I accosted 60 people in 2 days, just walked up to them, hid the microphone and said, do you know what fertilizer is? And I got blank stares, and it's really a funny 4-minute movie. But I got fired from that job because when I lectured about fertilizer and stuff in agriculture, I'd always get a question about global warming. And I'd give an honest answer. And the fertilizer industry didn't want to be involved in the global warming debate, and they felt it was better if I did not represent them. And it's just the way it goes. But I am incapable of not answering questions, or incapable. I thought that was sad today that they held back the representative from answering about Common Core and then ran out of time, so he couldn't. But he did add something at the end by telling us that theoretically you have the ability not to have Common Core in your school districts. On the other hand, you would have to test to it. But that's my subject tonight. Well, in case you're not going to be there tonight, I will tell you, the biggest problem in America is our education system. The biggest problem in the education system is Common Core. Lenin said, give me your children for 4 years and I'll plant seeds that will grow forever. And we must defeat it. It's worse than Obamacare, although now I think Obamacare is wonderful. You all understand that, don't you? But anyway, I'm also going to give you the good news is that, well, all that matters is education now. Our economy is on the upswing and nothing can stop it. Nothing can stop it. Anyone knows why nothing can stop our economy? I mean, if you're interested in that, I've got 58 data points to prove that statement, and you can get that from me if you email me. But there's one central reason why nothing can stop our economy. Who would like to tell me why? It's a simple reason.
Can't get any worse.
You're reading the wrong stuff. You're reading.
People will do things in their own interest.
Well, you're exactly right. I mean, that's where the 58 points are largely. We have overcome the government, we ignore the government, and go on. You're exactly right. But there's one central reason, though, you still haven't hit it.
Just tell us. We're not going to guess it.
Yes, you can. Yes, somebody will guess it.
Don't have any money, yeah.
The population has a little bit to do with it. Yeah. We're the only developed country that's holding our own. What makes the economy go?
Spending.
I think. Spending.
No,
People.
ideas, the innovation people.
This is so easy.
Teenagers.
Global warming.
Yeah.
Is it global warming?
No.
Yeah.
What really makes an economy run?
Money. Yeah.
Needs and wants.
Innovation. Supply. Greed.
I can't believe you don't, you're not, well, and I will tell you now, energy! Energy, and we are now the richest country in the world, and will continue to be the richest country in the world from energy for centuries and centuries to come, I'll bet on 1,000 years. And we're 10 years ahead of any other country because we own our mineral rights. Every other country, the government owns the mineral rights, and because of shale gas, which there is, you cannot imagine how much there is. Manufacturing is coming back in droves. Foreign countries are going to be investing in factories in our country. Our jobs are coming back. The only thing that's held us back now is the word sluggish, which always appears before the fact that we're growing for the last 4 years at 2.5% a year GDP, and they call that sluggish. It's actually very healthy. And people are still scared to hire, so we're not hiring as many people. But that's the good news. Nothing can stop our economy. Right now, what do the other side have? They have no physical evidence whatsoever. Sure, there has been melting of glaciers in the Arctic, but there's 8 times more ice in the Antarctic, and it's been growing. I mean, we've had a net increase in ice for really, certainly the last 30 or 40 years of your life. They have no physical evidence. What do they have?
Low shot air.
Are they have emotion? No, they have something else that has a name on it. Correct.
Money.
Scare cat.
Computer models.
Oh.
Now, many of you probably don't know what a computer model is, but you can mathematically model a physical system if you think you know the variables in the system, and if you think you know how the variables relate to each other. Well, there are probably over 400 variables in the Earth that control the climate. The models, of course, can't handle 400 variables. They don't have a clue what most of them are. So they handle about 40 variables. And they guess what the relationship of one thing is to another. I once tried to model when the leaves would turn color here in Columbus. And it deals with humidity and rainfall and root systems of trees. It's all kinds of things. I didn't succeed, but I used the experiment in a class when I was teaching at Ohio State about how you'd go about modeling tree leaves and when they turn color and even what color they would be. Well, the only thing they have are trying to figure out relationships of clouds and ocean currents and humidity and geography to come out with an answer to a temperature of what the planet is going to be 30, 40, 10, 100 years from now. Now, what do you know about your TV weather?
They're wrong.
Well, they're not wrong for tomorrow. They've got a really good track record for tomorrow, about 76%. It drops each day down into the 60s, and 7 days out, they're accurate 54% of the time. And yet, they think they can predict the temperature 10 years, 30 years. I mean, it's absurd. But all they have are these models, plus a huge amount of money to create the models. There are 28 global circulation models called GCMs that are used in the world, and they don't agree with each other. Those are the ones that are used. Now, if you had a model that depended on some few dozen variables, would you not think you could use the model to determine what the temperature of the planet was 10 years ago? You've got all the data, right? It all exists. Never been able to do it. They have not only been wrong on every projection for next year and the year after interminably, but they can't even predict a known.
They can't predict the past.
They can't predict. There's a saying that hindsight is better than foresight, not with global circulation. Yeah.
Even if they could backtest it correctly, that doesn't mean that they might have just randomly
Oh, that's
come
true.
across
That's true.
a formula that
They haven't even done, they could be lucky, you're right, but they haven't even been lucky. They've absolutely been unable to do it.
We just
So-
have time for maybe 2 more questions.
Okay, I'm right, I'm finished actually. Oh, you don't know about this, Kelly, I'm never late. If I am late. Yes,
If energy is the greatest predictor of our
Economy.
future economy, what about the water situation in the United States? very scarce.
Well, I'll
How
tell
does
you a
that
very
work?
quick story. I'll answer that because I'm heavily involved in it. I really cut my teeth on groundwater stuff. 5 years ago, I've actually written 30 books. No, I haven't written any books. I compile books with friends. My name is on the spine of 30 different books. You can get them all on Amazon. They're boring. I mean, they're all science. Publishers come to me and ask me to compile stuff. And people come to me and ask me to help them write books. So in 2005, I published a book called Modern Groundwater Exploration. And we figured out that if we use mineral exploration and oil exploration techniques, we could find lots of water deep in the earth in fractures if we understood the hydrologic cycle better. So we wrote about it. It's not of value, or was not immediately of value for drinking water because we give our water away. Because an investigation using our technology generally costs anywhere between $750,000 to $1.5 million. So there wasn't much we could do with it here. We had some success overseas, but all of a sudden we're very successful using the technology. Would someone like to tell me why? Where is water very, very valuable? Hydraulic fracturing of shale wells now. The oil companies will pay 5 times what normal people would pay for water, and all of a sudden the technology is in use. I think eventually, I'm optimistic, that we have huge amounts of water, in deeper wells instead of the few hundred feet we go down in a sand formation, and that most of our water problems will be solved. However, water is the only mineral that is dear and must be conserved. Everything else we find replacements for. We'll never run out of anything of importance. Water is the most critical, and we do need to conserve it. But I think that we're going to see through the oil shale hydrofracking some improvement in our water resource. It might take 5 years, but I think it'll happen. Yes?
I'm going to throw you a curve or a knuckleball.
Okay.
Is
I actually play for a men's hardball team, and I'm a designated hitter.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I bat about 250, no big deal. Go ahead.
We'll knock it out of the park. Is global warming and environmentalism a religion?
Oh, sure. Totally.
Yeah.
The whole green thing. Well, it's either a religion or it's money. Every corporation in America wants to be seen as green. Environmentalism is a religion, yeah, without a doubt. It's socialism also. It's a religion that supports socialism. Yes.
I hear all the time about there's a consensus of scientists that all the scientists agree.
Not
and all
true.
that.
It's a lot.
But is there a percentage of scientists? I mean, is there a percentage of scientists that do agree and that don't?
Well, I mean, there's certainly some that agree, but one organization, the Oregon Institute of Science and Medicine, surveyed 30,000 scientists, about 10,000 of which would be actual climate scientists. Most of them all had PhDs, and they all signed a petition saying they're willing to sign a petition saying man has virtually nothing to do with his climate. But the most exciting thing is the American Meteorological Society, the society of all every state weathermen did a new survey, and only 52% believe that man had a significant control of the climate, which means 48% do not believe that they do. So the consensus thing is totally fortunate. Kelly wants us out of here.
Yeah, to kind of wrap up and give you a short break.
And if you weren't planning on coming to dinner, I think you ought to change your plan and come, because I'm going to be